How can Jimmy Kimmel live with him? Like, Jimmy Kimmel is a talented guy, and I don't think he's like an evil person or something, but he's made this deal where he just serves power and attacks anybody who challenges power. Like, how can, honestly, how can he look in the mirror and say, I'm doing something honorable? Like, how can he live with himself? How can his wife sleep with him?
Well, it'd be
I mean
it'd be one thing.
He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He's in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is how.
Prior to his constant mockery by Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan, Jimmy Kimmel thought he was invincible. 1 minute he's making safe, corny jokes, and the next two men who don't care about filters are giving him haymakers. Rogan yells at discomfort, Tucker smirks as if it were a national holiday, and somewhere backstage, Kimmel is questioning every decision she's made since 2003. It's not a roast. It is colliding with reality at a dizzying rate. Hold on tight.
Treating each other equally is joking about each other indiscriminately. So yeah, I think comedians who, and this is why so much of comedy is not funny today. It's my chief criticism of like late night comedy, which I find unwatchable. I think it's totally unwatchable.
But also contemptible. I mean, that's collaborators.
They're just like the fact checkers. They're guardians of the narrative.
It's a unique kind of pleasure to watch two men who rarely interact deliver reality to a late night host. At one extreme is the podcast tycoon Joe Rogan, who eats elk and talks about UFOs. Tucker Carlson, on the other hand, was a cable criminal who deserted Fox and left a crater behind. Jimmy Kimmel, who is battling on TikTok like a father, is in the middle. His once charming talks have lost their comedy and now resemble 5-minute HR lectures.
There's not a chance in hell that this is funny or gonna work. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes with no audience, Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter. So a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. They stand there, and there's applause signs. And then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to clap. They're like, okay, explain to the people.
Yeah.
Okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause. Let's practice this.
When Rogan and Carlson finally turned their attention to this monument to mediocrity, Kimmel's act fell apart without a coordinated attack. Between a tirade about orthotics and a DMT anecdote, Rogan broke the phony domain of planned humor with a joke. There was no need for names because everyone knew that Jimmy was the owner of the tears on the teleprompter. Rogan's studio has the vibe of a bar, and Kimmel's stage may as well be a cruise liner lounge with a flu shot booth.
If his job wasn't to be a comedian and to do that, but his job is to be he's supposed to be funny. And comedians are supposed to hold people in positions of power accountable.
Yeah. The people in charge.
Exactly.
He's their Praetorian guard.
Yeah.
And it's like, the self-hatred he must feel, because he wasn't always, that's my point. I mean, Colbert has always been a hard partisan, talented guy, but obviously he's not a comedian. But Kimmel was a comedian. Like, how does he, I don't understand.
I don't know
how he can sleep.
He might buy into the narrative to the extent that he thinks it's morally wrong to joke about these certain topics.
But it's not just that, he's like pouring hot oil on the peasants from the parapet.
Kimmel snarks from inside a suit, and Rogan shrugs in a sweatshirt while making millions. Next up is Tucker, a digital sniper and former chaos conductor. Rogan roasts with icy anger as Carlson shrugs and smirks while he burns down the house. He never says Kimmel's name, since he is not required to. The insult permeates the silence. When the shoe fits so nicely, there's no need to lace it.
Pouring hot oil on the peasants from the parapet. Like, he's hurting anyone who challenges the king. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's upside down. The comedians should be poking holes in the popular narrative, not propping it.
Jimmy Kimmel. Truly. No, I mean it.
You said it,
no
not me.
amount of money is worth what he's doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's how they control speech and thought. It's how if your worldview is incoherent and impossible to defend rationally,
yes,
then you have to insulate it from criticism. And what's the most effective kind of criticism there is? I think it's mockery, which exposes foolishness for what it is. So it makes perfect sense.
Carlson emphasized significance over ratings in his argument. Late-night comedians used pretend to be revolutionaries. They sell Big Pharma more often than they make jokes these days, once in a position of advantage. Kimmel now behaves as though he's attempting to secure a seat at a CDC fundraiser. Tucker's audience is booming unedited, unfiltered, and unconcerned, regardless of whatever sanitized thing Kimmel does next. In the arena, there is one. Cheers are yet awaited for the other.
I honestly, I was mistaken about this. It's something I admit I was wrong about, is when early on, when we first started getting fact-checked and we first started having these issues with censorship with the Babylon Bee, it was my belief that these were humorless scolds who just didn't think our jokes were funny. And they thought they were offensive and they were being hypersensitive. And that's not the case.
No, it's not. You're going through the stages of realization.
The stages of realization. I eventually learned and came to realize that it's not humor. Humor is a vehicle for truth delivery. They don't like the fact that the narrative is being challenged in a way that's effective, and so they have to shut you up.
The outcome? Kimmel looks like the unfunny office manager who is trying to DJ the Christmas party. Rogan fans? Die-hard podcast listeners who hate Kale. Tucker's base? Memes and night owls approach each part as though it were a blood sport. Kimmel's viewers? The majority of those who slept off held the remote control. Instead of a rivalry, it's a slow-motion demolition derby.
In that case, do you think that's him or a writer? Can't tell.
Jimmy Kimmel? No, it's him, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
good. That's a good one.
He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host The Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous shit back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for hee-hees and haw-haws.
No, that's a good joke on top of a good joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke. Funny thing to say. He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood. And, you know, and I think also, you know, he famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had apologized for them, and I think he took that hit and, like, really doubled down the other direction. I mean, that's just speculation. But he, you know, now is a guy that goes after people like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, Elon is thought of as being, because he's willing to put people on with uncomfortable opinions, and he's releasing people that were banned from Twitter because of things that they had said. He's like, as long as you haven't done anything illegal, I'll let you back.
Rogan doesn't want to be liked. Tucker doesn't care who forgives him. But Kimmel? He still looks to a group of people that left him for entertainment. Every tirade in his presentation, which is a time capsule of 2017, is as obnoxious as someone trying to sell old milk while smiling. Furthermore, Rogan and Carlson seem to agree in this rare instance that Kimmel's comedy is not only outdated but also archaic, a relic from a time when people still cheered at punchlines.
There are a lot of people who are like on your side because they're for free speech, who are not actually for free speech at all, who are pushing, a very specific foreign policy agenda, for example, and using another issue to lower your defenses and let themselves into your brain. And I think that's really sinister, really, really, really sinister. And it's becoming more obvious now. Like, if you're for free speech, then you're just for free speech because you support the principle. It doesn't, the content of the speech is not that interesting.
Rogan's podcast is made up of 4-hour rants about aliens, nutrition, and the health risks of kale. In terms of free speech, it's the Wild West. Tucker's territory? Sniper takes that are well-cut and don't need a laugh track get viral. Conversely, Kimmel delivers 5-minute tirades that sound like someone reading out legal disclaimers. He is the rotary phone, as smartphone convention.
The job description of a comedian is not so different from the job description of a journalist, as traditionally constituted. Tell the truth about the powerful. Comedians are usually a lot smarter, more clever, and incisive than journalists, but that's what they're supposed to be doing. Almost none still do. Adam Carolla is one of the very few remaining comedians in the United States. He's out with a new book called Everything Reminds Me of Something.
This is the punchline. Kimmel burst rather than just faded. When he ridiculed Americans who were not vaccinated, half of his audience departed. Rogan used actual medical experts to respond to his repeated insults. He laughed at Tucker's exit from Fox News and saw him rise from the ashes with a wider fan base. It's like watching a kid repeatedly beat up a heavyweight after insulting him.
Road to obscurity. Nobody's going to care anymore. It's like you're seeing it take place with late night television. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I know.
And it's slowly, you have a bad business model and you're not adapting.
Yeah, the creativity's gone for late night comedy, right? Like, that's not really a thing anymore.
Did you learn the lesson? Rogan and Carlson decoded the code, but Kimmel ignored it. Rogan built an empire out of garage and a few odd jokes. Tucker turned his exile into an advantage in the digital world. Kimmel, too, behind a desk sponsored by cough medicine. He still makes jokes about Trump. He tried to swipe at two cultural giants and then punch himself in the face. Rogan's followers laugh sarcastically. In Tucker's fan base, it became a meme. Kimmel, too, he kept reading the cue cards, unaware that anarchy, unpredictableness, and pure authenticity now reign supreme in comedy.